Is there a strategic way for you to structure your portfolio as you go along in your property investing journey? Hey guys, Justin Pickup. The answer is definitely yes. There are definitely ways, structures and strategies that we need to work out for your individual scenario on how we're going to build your property portfolio and build it up one step at a time. The main ways I would see people getting started with their investing journey and how they'd strategize. One is cash savings. We've got cash tucked away. You can look at purchasing in your individual name. So we had 100,000 as an example, maybe 120. Might look to maybe 1 to 2 properties there. We've got the other avenue of looking at getting our equity out from any properties that we own at the moment. And there's also some strategy behind that as well. When we're structuring releasing equity, what terms, how much equity do we need to get, what lender are we going to get, what interest rate are we going to get? We strategically need to work out that if your lender is only going to give you $100,000, you need to strategically refinance to someone who's going to give you that $1 million without too many questions asked and then put you in the best position possible. Releasing your equity, terms around that, yes, it might be a slightly higher interest rate, but we're going to get that equity. Or can we find a lender that'll give you $800,000, rates a bit cheaper, and a few other perks that can work your way. So we just need to work out, okay, how much do you actually need and what's the way you want to structure it from that point forward. Second thing as well is our second and third tier lenders. We also need to be strategic on when we deploy these guys. Once the big four are kind of done, we might try and push it as far as we can here. If we've just pulled out that 800,000 or $1 million and the big four says, hey, we've got all that money, we don't want to touch anymore. Okay, well then we start spending with some of those other lenders that will fund us once we've got our liquid cash out. It can be a bit harder with our second and third tier lenders to actually release equity. If I went to some of those lenders and say, hey, give me 800,000 or $1 million, they might say, no way, that's too risky for us. We'll fund the purchases, but we're not just going to give you that cash. Some of those major players are a bit more flexible. And again, we are strategic in that move of let's get our cash here, go spending and invest later on. There's also things like trusts, depending on what your accountants recommend, your scenario. You may want to look at a trust structure, and there's a multitude of discretionary trusts, family trusts, unit trusts. That's for your accountant to discuss, not myself. They may give you advice that we need to move in different directions. You may also look at things like company structures, whether you're using asset finance, and do we look alt doc and low doc lending as well. Self-employed and your numbers are good when the mainstream, okay, cool. Then we don't need to look at the alt doc stuff that's going to be a bit more expensive. It's not working over here. We've got some other solutions outside the box that are a bit more expensive. We'll look at those as we go along. We may look at a self-managed super fund as well. That's also another strategic play that if we want to keep growing our wealth base, but it's a bit tight over here, or even just in conjunction, if you want to get aggressive, at any point in time, you could look at a self-managed super fund and implement that as well. There are a multitude of strategies and ways you can go about it here, depending on the numbers and your scenario, how much capital you've got and how much servicing you've got. That's really where we can kind of sit down and work out these numbers and strategies. There's definitely a lot, probably a bit hard to be the jack of all trades and learn all this stuff yourself. And this is really where having a professional team around you of brokers, buyers agents, real estate agents, accountants, and everyone there that's involved working towards your goal is really, really important. So as you go along in your journey, there are a lot of strategies that we need to implement. It's something that we'll be here to guide you on. If you have any questions or want to run your own scenario or look at those strategic ways to get going, feel free to reach out and we look forward to working with you soon. Cheers.